Hello and welcome back. We hopefully have gotten through all the technical kinks. I know that's a favorite pastime of Josh's recently, but
share your screen on here. Up there.
but now we should be getting right on in to Game 3.
Yeah, game 3 coming through. You know, I absolutely despise the Gnar pick, and oh my god, Mark, we are game, and YUBI seems to be already pretty far ahead.
All right, rapid fire action, utility monster flashing in. That's a double. This void bug is already popping off.
Okay, so good news is Bob Joseph has played a third unique champion in 3 games, so my bingo space is still alive, but what the hell has happened? So Bob Joseph has died 4 times. I'm guessing that's probably him disrespecting Brian again. Top lane is going actually a little bit better than I would have expected it to. The CS is definitely closer than it's supposed to be, but you can already see, like, this matchup is miserable. Like, what can you really do? You can't really go for any of these fights, and he's down 2 levels at this point. Brian?
Okay, Bob Joseph negates the hook with the Omega turret. 3-man gank is diffused. But can Leaves do anything in response? He's already on the bottom side of the map, so there's nothing that he is able to really get on the cross side. Maybe he can look for something here?
I mean, it's tough, right? They still got the Dark Harbors coming through for this Lilia, but when you're behind the Kha'Zix, we already were talking about how that's one of the toughest champions for Lilia to deal with, because Kha'Zix wants to be right on top of you, and when you already have a Duskblade at this point, I don't know if Leaves survives just that initial burst, and that's the really tough part. If Leaves can survive that, then maybe he can go for fights, but you can't really do anything if Utility Monster is in the same quadrant of the jungle.
Yeah, and it gets close too, and it's really hard to kind of pivot around the Kha'Zix, because with this initial amount of burst right from the get-go, even if you get a chance to sleep him, the sleep windup takes some time, and usually you're able to...
Sheep.
Yeah, usually you're able to knock out the deer before you fall off to lava land.
Well, great movie, by the way, but we are very much in a position where, oh man, this might already be a position where we're going to game 4 pretty quickly, right? We were saying that TDE, we were expecting to be the stronger laning team between the two of them, but you know, most of this advantage, actually all this advantage we have to imagine has come out from the laning phase for YUBI already, and I think a big part of it has been the fact that, you know, Bob Joseph, while we both have both the supports playing mostly MMOs, where Bob Joseph is playing WoW and Brian has been playing Final Fantasy, he's not giving him enough respect.
Well, right now, Red is the one being disrespected in a way that is advantageous for TDE. As
yeah,
they...
it's a degrading kink.
Oh.
There we go. That one's definitely Roth left speechless.
Damn it!
All right, mark that off your bingo sheet. Okay, but yeah, you know, it's definitely a tough spot for Red up top. He ends up going down, but we see another situation. YUBI's up 2 dragons. They're up a lot of gold, and Spencer.
Long range, baby. Civil Lock on that Vel'Koz is able to snipe Ultravox down, and even with the flash available, I don't think he was going to be able to escape the laser range.
Yeah, very tough spot overall. So I'm trying to reverse engineer like where we can potentially figure this one out as
Oh, good God! It's
everywhere.
Josh, they're just completely tearing them apart.
Yeah. This is not the way that YUBI normally plays, right? Where they just pull the map apart and just kill you all in individual plays here and there. But that's what's happening right now. Yes, basically everybody on TDE is at their Mythic, but you look at the side of YUBI and they're well on their way to their 2nd already. Like, the gold differential is huge from this position, and I really hope we're getting a Game 5. If I'm entirely honest, I kind of hope that TDE makes it to finals so that we can see a repeat of the best of 5 that they had against SLR. But so far, like, YUBI is dead set on not letting them do that. By winning all the lanes, it's a very good argument why they shouldn't be allowed to.
And I wonder if YUBI were just completely revitalized after the crushing defeat they had from YOLO, just being able to come back and say, hey, you know what? We're still back in this tournament. We still have a chance to run it all the way to the grand finals. And the way that they are completely... And Brian, I'll give you that one. Happens. Not every hook will land, but you still have Hex Flash to work with. This has been off of the back of just crushing laning phases from Jeff and Brian. The first game experiment didn't go their way, but ever since game 2, they have just been completely rocking Ultravox and Bob Joseph.
Yeah. So let's kind of go back. We were talking about some issues that we had with the draft.
There's one.
Guys again. One of the big issues that we're having is the insistence on TDE to play triple magic damage compositions is Lilia is next to fall. Oh, so close.
Oh,
actually.
burning down. Ignite. Still going to survive thanks to that passive he has. Jaffe might go Mega.
A little late. Fortunately, that doesn't do you any good. She's already left the room, buddy.
I knew it. I knew it. I was like, you know what? Josh is gonna make some type of flaccid heart joke about Gnar right here, and it didn't happen.
Yeah,
I was like,
that's
wow,
definitely cross that one off, Mr. Sungo. That's your horny comment if you didn't already catch a couple other ones. Yeah, I still got some others wrapped up my sleeve if they ever come into fruition for the rest of the Gnar saga. But
you give me
man, like,
there.
Yeah, we will make sure to bring protection with Brian.
Nice.
No fear, just get Spencer. I think
Brian on this Blitzcrank pick, man. Getting absolutely vindicated in the defeat against YOLO despite having a massive performance on the Game 3 Blitzcrank. We see it return once again, but it is completely demoralizing the side of TDE.
Yeah. So the big thing that we're going to need to see from TDE in the future is, one, you can't pick 3 magic damage champions. Force of Nature is just too strong of an item that you put it on Sejuani and it's like, hey, this champion is never going to die. The other thing that we're going to need to see from them is stronger counter picks, right? I know Jaffe has better counter picks into this Sejuani than the Gnar, which is, I'm going to be real, if I have to play Gnar and I see Sejuani picked into me, I'm crying, right? There's no way to play this, and I like to think that I'm probably the best Gnar player that we have in FOF. It's not playing. You gotta find something better. I know the Trundle, something we've had a lot of success on in the past with Shyvana, would work. The Gangplank might have been banned as Sivlock gets hit, but is that even enough?
Getting about half HP, forced to flash, leaves looking for the lilting lullaby. It's enough damage finally. Zenzen able to close the distance on that one, but Red over the wall, throws out a Glacial Prison. Brian saying cannot get in range before the minions shield Ultravox from getting hooked in.
There you go. Uh-oh. Build a Pony gifting a sub to the stream. Thank you, Build a Pony's daughter, in order to help us out. But as we look at the rest of it, Brian finds Jaffe.
Jaffe goes Mega, but is just forced to punt them away because he does not want any of that smoke at all.
Yeah. You hit a firefighter. Now as they start backing away, it's so difficult for TDE to come in. Jaffe's going flaccid at the wrong time, and it's so difficult for them to... Oh my god, how did that miss?
Zane on the pursuit now, looking for an opportunity. There's a window where Brian doesn't really have any effective cooldowns to threaten them. They're pushing into the dragon. This is still the 3rd dragon of the game, so YUBI is not in a position where this would give them soul, but it would give them soul point. Utility getting chunked out here thanks to the great positioning of the soldiers by Zenzen. It's all going to be on him to position themselves because the bot lane is heavily behind. YUBI trying to frontline in. Brian goes down, but beautiful laser from Sivlock is able to just open fire on the left side. Ultravox now firing arrows as much as he can. He's able to trade one back, but Red has got him locked down, and he's super tanky in the burst damage. Even as a full-on Sejuani is enough to take out the Archer.
Yeah, so tough for TDE to walk in, and that should be basically done and dusted. 9,000 gold at only 21 minutes. 3 dragons, and now they're going to be starting up the Baron as well. TDE's laning phase completely collapsing in this game, and as YUBI start filling this up, they've got the first 3 dragons in I think every game that we've seen thus far.
Okay, he's fine.
He's good. All right, do they wait for Clovis? No.
Nah.
Not Clovis.
Can you imagine comms? Hey, Mr. Barwell, can you wait to let me have Baron? No, I don't think I will.
That's the same thing that he did to Zenzen, and when he was subbing in for Rags back in the day. Oh, you want this Fubo? It's too bad. I'm gonna take it. We'll go back and take another look at this, but one of the big problems, right, is Jaffe you know, at least he has this Mega here, but by being forced to use the ult and having his Mega pop so early, he doesn't have Mega for most of this dance. He's not even threatening to get it. Like, once it actually ends, once the bar disappears, it takes you about 30 seconds, 15 seconds where you can't build up any rage, and then an additional 15 seconds you try and build it up. That he doesn't really have any threat, right? And we were asking who's going to be your phase checker, who's going to be your front line. It's not going to be Gnar in this composition, and he's nowhere close to making it happen. Now, as all the different angles come through, the no frontline composition isn't able to build up an opportunity to fight in any particular side. Jaffe's trying to build rage, but Bob Joseph's already out of mana.
And this fight looked super close, too. I mean, Zen had most of YUBI in a great position of just forwarding them off, but then the flank here from Civilog. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, catching everybody in the, you know, disintegration rave, and Jeff still with the ultimate almost gets pushed back, and at least, you know, Ultravox kills Civilog on the backside, so at least you take down the one person who screwed you over just a moment ago. But yeah, this one feels pretty done and dusted, so I'm curious how TDE will actually try and come back in Game 4, because they need to win that one if they want to have another chance to take down SLR, and they took them to Game 5 from before. And now that we're in the, you know, the lower bracket, the lower finals, it's very difficult. You don't often get this second chance to try and come back, and it doesn't feel like they've necessarily been putting into work in order to bring themselves back into this game.
Yeah, I mean, we're at a 10K goal deficit again, this time even earlier than Game 2. It didn't even happen until around the 25-minute mark, so this one feels...
Over?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, YUBI just look like they're the better team, and the big part right now is Brian. Yeah, he's just a better support, I guess, fighting the 1v1 up against the Heimerdinger. This was going to be the highlighted matchup that I really wanted to kind of focus on if we had an opportunity to do it, was Bob Joseph versus Brian, but they just get right on in, and outside of Game 1, Brian has solidly won the bottom lane 2 games in a row.
And he's just been able to do it off of understanding the weaknesses of what Bob Joseph is playing.
Yeah.
In the Sona matchup, just as Morgana, if you can just drive home the advantage early in the laning phase, and you don't even care about the late game scaling because they'll never get there. In Game 3, Heimer, super oppressive in lane. But if you're able to get around those turrets and able to hook them in, which we didn't unfortunately get a chance to see in the early game, but apparently it was enough times that they completely ruined whatever advantage Heimer could have had in the laning phase.
Yeah, and now as they start bringing it in, Vel'Koz suddenly becomes the best character in the game because of the range at which he can throw out skill shots and try and poke everybody down. They still have the Baron buff in red off in the side lane, just creating pressure off on the side. But notice how far ahead all of their items are, right? Red is got the Force of Nature done, is well on his way to getting a Frozen Heart, but oh god.
Good God, Brian!
He's dead.
Flash
dead.
hook. Zane is gone. A majority of your wave clear has been taken out. It's now realistically on Bob Joseph to keep the waves from being able to attack your inhibitor towers.
Multiple turrets being pressured at the same time. Red can't really walk up and hit this at all, but he's got the cannon to do it for him, and he might be able to kill Ultravox if he steps too far forward. But as the mid lane turret crumbles, see how YUBI starts moving around. I expect them to take this mid lane inhibitor, escort the wave in, and then shift all their attention towards the bottom side and really push them against the wall.
They still have 2 minutes to play before they can pick up their soul for the game. So they are just vibing while the Baron buff is still active.
Yeah, they could potentially send somebody top lane. You know, Red could start hoofing it over there, but you don't really need to. And it feels like YUBI, a team that has been dominating the FOF season and the FOF spectrum for so long.
Oh, great interrupt by Red. Red might have given his life, but he prevents Jaffe from getting any form of counter engage with that Mega Gnar. So it ends up being a top laner traded 1-for-1, but the pressure is still on YUBI's side.
Yeah, I mean, a 1-for-1 is good, but when YUBI, again, they've been dominating the FOF, they have 3 consecutive wins under their belt, and now they move up towards the Mythic side, where they were knocked out in semifinals, but the script writers were not satisfied. They said they need to have another YUBI final appearance, and so far, again, the way that they've been playing games 2 and 3 have absolutely shown that they are ready to try and take down SLR once again.
And this would cement the legacy of YUBI as probably the most dominant team in FOF history. And if you think about beforehand, I think the only teams that can compare, you say what, Ints maybe RLS.
You were good for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
RLS had a really good season against us, but I think that was probably their most successful season. They've been one of the longest ones. I think Oriri, deserves a shout out as well for all the different teams that he has brought and his consistency that he actually plays. There was a couple of teams. I know he who shall not be named had never failed to make a finals appearance until this season, where he didn't make it for certain reasons. But we have had a lot of consistently strong players, but I think Yubi's probably been the most dominant team, kind of bar none.
Yeah, and the fact that they moved from the Heroic League, which is a capped league, to now Mythic, where different restrictions, but higher level playing field, and YUBI are still dominating, just goes to show the growth that all of these players and the majority of them have gone through. Now, Red.
How long he takes to die?
07. We salute you, brother.
07. Double 07. Well, actually, none of them are 07. Has anybody gotten a Flame Horizon yet? Not quite. We see 50 is the biggest lead for Rep. As this turret ends up falling down, TDE goes. Okay,
Dane looking for Civil Lock here. Vel'Koz completely pinned, but can they get any more of it? Because Utility Monster's finally shown up. Now, you don't want to tango with this Space Bug in the face of the jungle, but, it's a way for TDE to stall out the game. Cloud Soul has been picked up, but if you can stall out the game, bar a miracle for 6 more minutes, maybe you can get to that Elder Dragon, but Zen is once again taken out. Traded up by Brian Singh. Immediately, Jaffe wants to go Mega here. Oh!
Good attempt. Trying to chase down Utility Monster, but the teleport from Red should dissuade them, and now Jaffe.
They're back in, and Jeff Godgamer pops the Killer Instinct, and he's a killer, all right. He's going in with Utility Monster. He has the GA, has full faith and confidence in his star AD carry to clean up the pieces. Flash from Utility Monster.
Oh.
Jeff picks it up. It's a trade from Bob Joseph, but a triple kill nonetheless. An inhibitor will fall for YUBI's efforts.
15, 1, and 3 is the score for Jeff Godgamer, and Red, he can do this. The flash is forced out from Bob Joseph. It is complete domination. This is one of the vintage scores we're used to seeing from Jeff and Brian, right? 15 kills, 15 assists. They're ready to keep on going. And yes, there's a weird outside chance for TDE to win a fight around the Elder Dragon if Lee's able to get a steal, but I don't know if they're, one, going to make it that far, and two, even if they get that Elder steal, look at the fact they picked up a single turret on the map. They can't end off of a single fight.
All right, Josh. Do we see a fight over the Elder Dragon?
I don't think we get there. Okay. Red? I think Red's okay.
Yeah. I mean, this Force of Nature is putting in a lot of work. Between the highest damage dealers, as you called it, mostly Magic from the side of Bob Joseph and Zen, it just cannot take down this big.
Yeah. And Lilia too, right? You got 3 people who are dealing magic damage, and I don't remember the exact number. It's like 15 to 20% just total reduced magic damage. Like that's not magic resist. That's just reduced damage. That's factored in before you even do the magic resist, right? Like this item is so absurdly efficient and it gives you so much movement speed. And now they're going to be starting up the Baron, and this should be in the next 3 minutes is when the game actually ends. Only if YUBI botches this push are we actually seeing Elder Dragon.
Yep.
So I don't think YUBI's likely to botch it, right? They have been one of the cleaner macro teams. They have been one of the better team fighting teams. And it's part of why even during the regular season, they were still top 2 after moving from Heroic to Mythic.
What are TDE thinking going into the potentially the match point for YUBI? Because at this point, you can still focus on the game. You can chill out a miracle potentially. But I imagine that the players for TDE, whose responsibility is it going to be to keep their heads in the game?
Zenzen's typically that force as they just go. Jaffe.
Frontline, the only member that can really get in there. And just like that, Josh, you see the members of TDE evaporating to the disintegration ray. The rest of them are falling like flies. YUBI are going to push this one in. They've lost out Brian, but Brian giving his life for the greater cause. They're going to push in this wave. We are going on to match point. YUBI are poised to take this series in their own and match up against SLR in the grand finals.
Yeah, it's a 2-1 advantage currently. We did get to see the first 10 minutes of this game, but we still know the outcome. And now we got to see if TDE can bounce back. Typically what we know is that Bob Joseph, he becomes much more of a dominant voice when he starts feeling stressed. He has to be feeling stressed right now. He's going to be doing a lot more shot calling, and we'll see. This is one of the things that we knew TDE was going to struggle with going into Season 6. Who was going to be the strong voice? It was Antunes. Antunes is a fairly quiet player. Bob Joseph, he's vocal, but he doesn't necessarily have the most efficient communication across the board. We'll see if he can bring it back this game.
Talking to Zane before this series, you know, they talked about how this Heimerdinger was going to be one of the spicier picks that they had prepared. The fact that Brian was able to outclass him with the Blitzcrank, this is going to be a moment where we see Bob Joseph either get a chance to step up to a whole new level, being pushed to a limit that he has not been pushed to before, or this will be a YUBI series to close out. When we come back from this break, it is match point for YUBI versus TDE.
Mark,
What?
we're live.
Oh, hello. No,
I was ready.
I,
Mark was having a good time. He was
I,
busy reading up on Smash Ultimate lore.
uh, unironically, I was because I was curious. I was like, what has
Who's
Zane
winning?
done recently? My bad. Well, that's a different Zane for Golden
Different Zane.
Guardians. Right
True.
now, we are looking down the barrel of match point for the side of YUBI, who just had back-to-back dominating games all through the power of Jeff God Gamer and Brian Sang during the laning phase.
Yeah. Okay, so something has changed. I'm making a new bingo tick as it's the Mordekaiser ban instead of the Urgot ban coming through this time in the Sejuani first pick, as Sejuani has won every single time on blue side. No. Well, it has won every single time, but it was not on blue side last game because it was being played by red on the red side. And so
Mhm.
Jaffe gonna be taking that away from them this time. But with the Urgot still up, my bingo check is still alive.
Okay.
Okay. Now, it probably will not get me a whole bingo, but it still feels better. Like the more spaces you have completed,
Hmm.
just it's even if you don't win, you still get like a bit more satisfaction from having a full sheet.
What's the last thing that you need? I'm
I need a
wasn't.
UV Maokai. I
Oh,
need to
you
play
need.
free space.
That's so surprising that
It's
it
been
was.
bad 4 times. I was even told that TDE had plans for when UB was going to play Maokai, but it sounds like something had changed about their plans. But we do see Ultravox going back on the signature Jinx. I think that's his most played all time in FOF.
Mhm.
Between both season 5 and season 6, but it is going to be another Olaf coming through, and this is flexible between red and utility monsters. So we don't know
Yep.
exactly where it's going just quite yet, but I think Raptor is loading into game, which means that I cannot see our draft anymore. I do not see. I do not see the champions. No
Help!
spoilers.
Help!
Yeah, we back to it.
Okay, we're back.
Yeah.
Well, Zen going back to the tried and true classic
Okay.
of the Azir. I want to point out that last time Zen locked in this Azir, Yubi immediately counterpicked with the Vel'Koz, and I think TDE were trying to see if they could force UB into deciding, do they want the priority counter pick into the Azir or do they want to
Yeah.
lock down a support pick, which they made the choice.
Yeah, the one thing I do really like is this Sejuani. Again, we haven't seen Jaffe on any of the champions that he really likes playing in the sideline, right? No Gangplank, it's been up multiple times. No Fiora, it's been up multiple times. And it's a situation where, yes, they can kind of force some of these team fights, but I feel like that's Yubi's strength, right? Like, I feel like you want to play towards the way that you know how to play. Something that Yubi is not as good as responding, because Jaffe is generally a better side laner most of the time
Mhm.
than Red. He creates more pressure when he's in the sides of the map, whereas Red oftentimes is a better flanker, right? We've been seeing him consistently look for ways to get around the back side of TDE when you actually go for fights.
And I think this is TDE starting to buckle down on what has been their weaknesses when it comes to the late game in team fighting. There's been massive laning discrepancies that has given Jeff and Brian massive advantages in gold over Ultravox and Bob Joseph. But even then, like TDE, there's moments where you can see, oh, despite the golden disadvantage, Ultravox and Bob Joseph can still be useful in these fights. The big problem is, as you've mentioned, especially in game 3 and in a little bit of game 2,